So my name's Jack Waitman, and I am a dad of two children, soon to be three, who are both patients in different neonatal units in Glasgow. My oldest Daniel is 6, and in 2011 he was in York Hill with a condition where his jaw was too small, had a cleft palate, and he had some other things with his windpipe and his lungs that they just weren't quite strong enough. And then my daughter Sophie, she's now 10, 11 months, and she was an inpatient at the Queen Elizabeth neonatal unit. She has the same condition, but she wasn't affected as badly as Daniel was. Having two children in two different neonatal units with very similar staff, but the whole feeling of being in the unit is completely different now to what it was in 2011. So in York Hill, Sarah and I were very young. We were only 19 and 20, and we had a very, very sick child. He required a tracheostomy, and there was several points where the doctors came in and said, it's just see how it goes. It's not like you'll get out. It's just let's see how things go. It was quite draconian in York Hill. And the nurses did everything for you. The sisters came round, the doctors came round, the nurses did everything. You just kind of sat there and you were kind of a passenger in what was going on. In the Queen Elizabeth, you very much are, as a parent, the primary carer, and the nurses and the doctors and all the medical staff assist you and your baby with what you need, as opposed to you just being there. So a lot of the staff that were nurses in York Hill are now sisters, so they've seen, the old and the new, and the mentality seems to come from them. They're very much about what the families want and what the parents want and what the families need. So the HUG group, HUG is short for Helping Us Grow group, and it's really a complete statement about what they're trying to do as a unit. They're trying to grow, they're trying to make it a better environment, and in my experience as a parent, it really seems to be working. When you've got a baby, trying to stick to strict visiting times and coming in between certain hours of day and night, that's quite difficult. The HUG group had a Fingerprint ID machine installed at the front door. We found a lot of parents were waiting to buzz in and buzz in and buzz in, and staff were having to come away from what they were doing just to unlock a door. Now it's literally instant access, as if you were a staff member. You just register your fingerprint, you're straight in the door. I can't imagine how much time it saved for the staff. When we were in with Sophie, they had just started a programme with vCreate, and it was video messaging sent home of your baby sent home to you. The staff would leave messages and play music, and the videos would be really fun, and that process is now rolled out, and there's been over 100 families just in this in the Queen Elizabeth that have used it, and they all love it, and it's a fantastic thing to see happening. So part of the learning from day one, there is a whole range of family awareness sessions ran by the staff. There's things like CPR training, and there's even just the things that you think are simple, but then when you start introducing things like tracheostomies or other types of medical equipment, things like bathing your baby become a little bit non-standard. And there's classes ran every week by so many staff, it's hard to even mention. They're so good for helping you get home earlier. In York Hill, when you were ready for discharge, the medical staff would say this patient is ready for discharge, and then you'd probably still be there for another week to 10 days while you were waiting on certain members of staff being on shift, so they could train you on feeding at home, bathing at home, medical equipment care, things like that. The calendar's up all the time, but as soon as it's identified that your baby has one of these bits of medical equipment or a tracheostomy or a feeding tube, the staff remind you that there's a training session that you can go to for the first time. You can reattend, refresh yourself. You can go as many times as you like. It's really an open platform for learning more about your baby. Having baby number 3, we already know that we're going to be back in the Queen Elizabeth for some time in the neonatal unit. We don't know how long yet, but we'll just have to wait and see. Even if it's worst case scenario, we know that in the Queen Elizabeth we'll get the best care we can possibly get. Never mind in Glasgow, just in the country. Something that always stands out for me and that I always tell people about is the staff. So the staff go above and beyond what they're contracted to do. There's so many staff there that give up free time, they give up their own money, they give up their own Saturdays, and they come in and they spend time with families. So there's There's the awareness classes, there's the fundraisers, there's events, there's all sorts of things that these staff aren't asked to do, and they just do it. No questions asked, they don't blink twice, they just get up and get on with it and do it, and it's amazing. And that's things, that staff team that's there, that's something that you won't even find in another part of the same hospital. It's just a team that works so well together, and they all work so hard. It's unbelievable to see. From what I know of other neonatal units in Glasgow and Scotland, the overwhelming feedback from parents that I talk to, because I spend a lot of time talking to parents now that I would have never done before, and the feedback I generally get is that no other unit is like the neonatal unit at the Queen Elizabeth. So if you could take a pinch of that and just spread it bit by bit, then I think the NHS would be better as a whole and the neonatal services.